Hello, welcome to the Cables, Lace and Tails podcast. My name is Sue, and I am a maker from northwestern Wisconsin. Hello, Susanna. Now, I am going to jump right in because I have a very short window of time to record. I may not get to all the little notes I have gotten to because I had to work late. And yeah, so today I am talking about perseverance. What does it mean to persevere? Perseverance. Wow, you hear it all the time. You just need to persevere. This is a hard time. You have to persevere. Has humanity been persevering since the beginning? Yeah. However, nowadays, and I was reminded of this again today while working in the library, and I do the checkout of the books, okay? And some kids bring their books up and they're just like, you do it. And it's like, you have to have a bit of gumption inside you in order to persevere and get things done. Now, unless you, of course, you're super rich and you have nannies and housekeepers and everything else, but they are persevering on putting food on the table. So perseverance can relate to a whole host of things. I am going to relate it to my knitting because, that's what I do. However, persevering is also like getting a degree, and you really wanted that degree in, whatever it is. And like, let's say a doctor, you have to persevere through medical school, which isn't always easy. Or, being a teacher, and sometimes teachers have a really tough class and they have to persevere through the rest of the year, and hopefully in the future it is better. Or, like you are a long haul truck driver and you have to go from one end of the country to the other. You have to persevere being extremely bored in those certain parts of the road. My dog is barking at somebody. I'm going to take that moment to get all my stuff together. So, are we done? Okay. She does a good job. Now, I don't want to restart this. Okay. Now, you're so good. Okay. Yes, you're so good. So, we're going to go around it. Life with a lab. She's the best. She's guarding the house. Let me just take a check. Oh yeah, you scared him away. Good job. I don't know. Okay, I am persevering on the vegetable patch cardigan. I'm not going to talk about each individual thing too much because I'm going to put information right here or right here, and then, we can just move on and call it good. I worked probably a good 5 to 6 inches. I'm not going to measure. I am very close to being at the arm. Wait, did I? Yes. As you can see, I have gotten to the armhole measurement. And now I'm going to start doing the decrease, which will be on this side because this is the right front. So the decrease happens here. And I have found the last time when I was doing the left front, the decrease part went relatively quick. When I find little tricks and tips to keep me going on a long-term project, which seems to, take forever, you're doing the same thing over and over. When will this ever get done? Oh, I've heard so many people, oh, I couldn't do a project like that. That is too long. Well, you can break things up. That is one way to persevere. You can just say, you know what? I'm just going to work on this for a half hour, once a week, so it doesn't get too boring. Or you can say, you know what? I'm going to get this done because I really want to wear it. So there's another incentive. A, time. What time do you have allowed? 2, the time that you have allowed, when will you wear this object that you're creating? It's a sweater, it's a dress, it's a hat. Do I need it now? Is that why it's lingering? Is it really necessary? Is that why I can get things done faster? What type of yarn is it? Now, this yarn is the Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted weight. The color is Shire Heather. It's really beautiful. it is a medium weight yarn. So a medium weight yarn knits up faster than, say, sport weight or a fingering weight. And I'm only going to bring this one up really briefly because I did talk about it at length at my last video. This is my Knit Picks palette. I am not sponsored. I am not affiliated. I just have their yarn. So this is a fingering weight yarn. This is going to be a sleeve, and I have quite a number of increases to do, but it's bigger than it was last time I showed you. And it seems to take forever because it is fingering weight yarn, and I am persevering. When I block it, it'll be more like that. But I have to persevere to get this done. Now, this is a good knit for me to, like, my hands are tired. I just want to do short back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I have it all listed out on where my increases are. So there's a little bit less to think about, and I can just cross things off, which crossing things off really helps in persevering. I'm just going to keep saying persevering. I was thinking you could start a drinking game, but I'm not going to encourage bad behavior all the time. Now, I started last week. Last week was spring break, and I recorded on Wednesday. This is the following week, and it's Thursday because we were really busy the beginning part of the week, and I didn't have a chance to record. So from Wednesday to, we'll say, yesterday, because I didn't knit yet today, which is not odd, but I usually try to get a few little things in, before I go to work to help me reset, but instead I was working on something else. Now, I really wanted to start the stripe pipe sweater. I've been wanting to make this sweater for the past 2 years, and I thought to myself, why wait? Just stop waiting and just start, just start. I really want a striped sweater, and you'll see it matches this one as well. There's a stripe pipe sweater. I bought it from her website, the pattern, and I'm on the front part. Yes, I worked on this diligently. I did 2 different things. One, oops, I'm losing my stitches. One, I did watch a couple movies last week. We're fortunate enough to have some streaming service, and I watched one with my daughter, and then she kind of half watched another with me. And then I started watching this show called Ponies, which is on Peacock, and it takes place in the 1970s, and it's CIA, KGB, but it's really quite good. It's not for kids, or it's adult content, okay? So my daughter didn't really watch it. The first episode wasn't bad, but after that, it got spicy. Yeah. Anyway, so I would just watch it when she wasn't around, and I was able to, I did the back, and then I had the stitches on hold, and then I did the fronts, and now I have the fronts together, and I'm just working back and forth. Can you tell I like this color? Even though they're 2 different colors. This is Wool of the Andes worsted weight in the color Current. I think they still have it on their website. And then this is Wool of the Andes worsted tweed in the color Barn Door and Dove, Heathers. So Barn Door and Dove. This is working up really relatively quick. I don't know if it's the stripes that keeps me going. I don't know if it's the yarn that keeps me going. I don't know if it's the way that the pattern is broken up into sections that keeps me going. It's fun to check things off the list. Now, it is really turning out. I am making the large size. I think it's the 4 size, because I don't want too much positive ease. If I were to make it the next size up, which should be the extra large, I think it'd be too big on me. Really, I do. So, what was I going to say? Persevering. This has little things that you can tick off. I did the back, excellent. I did the left front, I did that. Now I'm doing the right front. Now I got them all together and I'm just working back and forth. And there is something about the middle of the sweater that stops a lot of people. And it's because it's then boring. Once this gets put into the round, and then you're knitting for, you know, a chunk of space, that chunk of space, you're like, oh, all I'm doing is knitting in the round and it's not so much fun anymore. Although the stripes keep you occupied. I can't wait to make another one of these in a different colorway, but also I'm using the Mineral Heather and then the Dove in a different way. But it is a fun sweater. So working in the round, I'm going to have all the information for all of these things off to the side because, like I said, I have a short time to record today, but I'm persevering. I was on the fence. Should I keep a week ahead of schedule or should I just let it go and do something else? And I said, you know what? No, you're going to persevere. You're going to do something even if it isn't the easiest thing to do, because that's what perseverance is. Now, sometimes I can be really, stubborn, or I'm going to stop saying this phrase because it really bothers me, and I realize I say it way too often, probably about 3 months ago. I'm either stupid or stubborn. And I persevere. Sometimes stubbornness is related to stupidity, because why are you keeping on in a situation that has no future, right? That seems kind of moronic. But I am not a stupid person. I am just a human being. And human beings, we do make mistakes. Human beings have to be strong to withstand what is happening around the world and is creating unnecessary crises. Okay, so I was in a kind of a foul mood at the beginning of this week. I was not ready to go back from break. Yes, I want a paycheck. Yes, I like my job. No, I did not get everything I wanted to get done. I felt rushed, and yet at the same time not rested, and yet at the same time I was able to actually sleep for a change, because sometimes I don't allow myself to sleep long. So I was, kind of down on myself on Monday. I was really bummed. I didn't get nearly half the things I wanted to accomplish. I didn't get anything done in the kitchen. I didn't get anything done sewing wise, and I've been wanting to sew so bad. So on Monday and Tuesday, I just said, you know what? You just got to work on something that you have to persevere on. And even though it may seem like you're not getting anywhere, just doing something is going to help you. So I brought out my wilderness sweater. And it's getting, okay. I didn't want the stitches to fall off. Now, I'm going to stand up. It's about halfway done. So I have to get to be, armhole length. And I might not make it as long as my other one, which I do like the length. I like the length where it comes down and covers my hips, especially in the winter. But I might choose a shorter version for this one. And I'm just working on Olive Slopey bulky weight yarn in the color black. And so it's just, it's just working in the round. Sometimes working in the round hurts my hands, but I have found that this yarn does not hurt my hands. I don't know why. It's a hair sheep from Iceland. I don't know if it's the bulkiness of it. I don't know if it's the bulkiness of the needles. I am using a US size 10. And I just had to go around and around and around and around. And sometimes doing something that seems like there's no end in sight helps you finish a project because you are persevering through it. So I don't see a lot of kids nowadays, and I know a lot of people can change. You can change. In fact, I know I have changed over the years, so anybody can change. And the thing I see with the children is that they give up so easily. Everything is like instantaneously. Is that social media problem? Is that being handed a phone at a young age problem? Is that being helicopter parent problem? Is that, not letting your child do something difficult at the age of 2 because you don't want to see them hurt? I don't know. I know that I have a child and she gives up easily. And I tell her, you've got to persevere, and, you got to do the hard stuff. Only she can get her grades. And, I don't want to help her with her homework. I will listen to it. I will say, yes, that sounds good, or, that needs a little bit of work, but I don't want to do her homework for her, because how is she supposed to live in life in the future? How is she going to persevere? What if something happened to the electrical grid and we were shut into darkness? How would we teach school? Everything's done on smart boards. The kids are always on their Chromebooks, especially in the high school and junior high era. I don't know. It's just really a different time. Now, when I was a kid in the 1970s and 80s, we could have gotten by without any power. I mean, relatively speaking, you want heat, you want air conditioning, but we didn't have the level of technology as we do nowadays. People have gotten really soft, really soft. We rely upon, ChatGPT to answer our questions, or I have a Google Pixel phone, so I can't, Gemini, which I am. But they, you ask it a question and up comes AI response immediately. And you're like, cool, thanks. But is it accurate? You have to persevere in knowing the knowledge of how to do something. When I wanted to learn how to knit, I asked people, got turned down quite a bit for a long time. And yet I persevered because I wanted to do it. Do kids have that same gumption? I don't know. I see things like if my daughter wants to plan a party, she can persevere. Are her parties wildly expensive? Yes. Has she planned a dog marriage party for our dog and a dog down the street when she was probably about 10 years old? Yeah, she did. It kept her busy. So I allowed it to happen. I knew the dogs were never going to get together and get married. Is this kind of funny? Anyway, so I thought I have thought for a while, I should time and see how long it takes me to knit something. How long does something actually take to knit? Because when you're watching a show and you're enjoying it and you're like, oh, this is good, and you're just doing something kind of mindless where you don't even have to look at your knitting to actually knit. When I see myself doing it in my phone, it makes me dizzy. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. Okay, timing myself. I decided to time myself on one simple object and just to see how long it would take to actually do something. And I mentioned this before. I'm gonna have to take a lot of pictures for this because I've not shown any of my books or anything like I normally do. But I'm gonna show you this one. So Knit Like a Latvian, I am doing the Morning Star wrist warmers. I'll do this. I'm doing those right there. I'm covering up most of the pattern here so you can't really see. And I have worked on it in 3 installments so far. It's taking me over 3 hours to do. And the first time I worked 24 minutes and 17 seconds. The second time I did an hour and 5 minutes and 24 seconds. And then the third installment, which it was Tuesday evening, I worked on it for an hour and 41 minutes and 30 seconds. And the Tuesday I was able to finish the middle flower motif. I was kind of amazed at how long this motif took because it's not really that many stitches. Yes, I am using DPNs, my Knitter's Pride Zings. So the first installment was like the ribbing and like the one round of the blue. The second installment was the first motif of color work and 1 round of blue. This third installment was the motif you see in the middle here and 1 round of blue, which is on top. And I have another section of motif and ribbing to do. I was trying not to hurry and yet not to dilly-dally. I was really trying to, how would this be? And I thought to myself, as I was knitting this and seeing the time just ticking away, I was thinking about the past when women used to make knitted stockings out of lace weight yarn. And I am using lace weight yarn. I'm using Knit Picks Palette. It's a 2-ply fingering. And it's a lovely yarn. It's Highland Peruvian wool. I was just thinking like how long this took and how long it would be if I was making like a full-length stocking, like to go above your knee. I mean, this is not even a cuff part for that. I don't know. The color is Seafaring and Tea Rose. I think they're really pretty together. It's a really pretty thing. So I'm kind of figuring, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm kind of figuring that each one is going to take about 5 hours, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less, but about 5 hours, just for what it's been like so far. Then I got to make the second one. Will the second one be faster? And a lot of people get second sock syndrome or second mitten syndrome. And I thought about doing 2 at a time, as in one set, but it's just easier for these to do one and then do the other one right now. I am using a size US 0, so it's a 2mm needle. I mean, that in itself is a small gauge, and it is a very tight gauge, which I did on purpose because these are really nice and warm around the wrists. It does have a little bit of give to give. So editing Sue is going to have a lot of work on her hands. That's good. It teaches me stuff. So persevering, yes, editing requires perseverance because I don't know much and I have to teach myself, and I'm willing to do that. Learning how to double point needle was a lesson in perseverance. I was determined to learn how to do it. I don't know why, but it just was something that I said to myself, you are going to know how to do this. This is something that's going to be necessary for you to know. Now, that leads to what happens in the future of our world. Will we always be, essentially addicted to gasoline and oil? Will we persevere and do more like environmentally sound things? Are we headed to a situation that can't be reversed climate-wise? I don't know. I don't have any of these answers for anybody. I'm just trying to do my part in the world, and I'm persevering on trying to make this world better for my daughter and future generations, if there are future generations, because you just don't know. You just don't know. You know, I think of my grandma, who, she lived in Liverpool. She was in Liverpool during the World War II blitzkriegs. She knew what it was like to persevere in the face of danger, more than my grandparents that lived stateside, you know, because the threat of bombs was constant and horrible. She met my grandpa over there, and she moved to Wisconsin. And my grandpa passed away when my dad was quite young. He was going to turn 10, but it happened before he turned 10. So she stayed here, even though her family wanted her to move back to England. And that is a sore point for my dad. He doesn't know why. And I think I do. I mean, I never asked my grandma. She never wanted to talk about it, but she knew where she left. And no matter how bad things may have been at times, you know, having 7 children, losing your husband, having to work constantly and take care of, you know, a baby all the way up to a 10-year-old. It required a lot of perseverance, and she was a strong woman. And I really idolized her. I really looked at her and thought, you know, if she can do this hard thing, if she can raise a family thousands of miles away from her own family, and she can create a life here and persevere, then so can I. So maybe that's where I get my stubbornness from, you know, persevering. She lived until she was in her early 80s, and I miss her every day. So, you know, everyone has different times of perseverance. My other grandma, she was 5 years old when the Great Depression hit. She lived on a farm, so they had a different way of persevering. They grew their own food. They had animals, so they weren't really lacking in nutrition. However, nothing at that time was, you know, cheap or free or easy to get. People lost houses. If you ever study history, look at the downfalls, because look at times like you can say, oh, you know, I don't want to get demonetized because I'm not monetized. That's a joke. You have to have so many subscribers, and I don't have that yet. But if you look at times like the bubonic plague or COVID or whatever, you know, the 1918 flu epidemic, where it just killed off all kinds, people still persevered and moved forward. And so here we are in a state of what is going to happen. Nobody really knows. I was at the store yesterday, and I walked through the coffee aisle because it smells so good. And I looked at Folgers, and they had a sign that said $28.50 for one or $30 for two. And I was like, holy crap. A 2-pound canister of coffee is almost $30. But if you bought 2 of them, you could get it for $15 each. And I remember being a kid and thinking 50 cents for a cup of coffee was expensive. I'm showing my age. So, I don't know. This is a relatively short podcast. I hope I gave some inspiration on how to persevere in your chosen craft, whether it's painting or photography or, you know, knitting or sewing. I really want to make a quilt. I really, really do. I want to make curtains, and I want to make clothes, and I'm going to persevere and teach myself these skills. Yes, it's going to require time. Yes, it's going to require some form of financial money. Yes, I have been acquiring supplies. When I can, I find deals. What looks like it's going to be something that's useful to me, I will get. And then, I want to make bags. I want to do everything. Oh, so many things I want to do in so little time it seems. However, dedicating yourself to something that you really want to learn is always worth the time, the effort, and the money you put into it. So on that cheery note, I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for liking, thank you subscribing, and thank you for being here to the very end. I truly appreciate it, and I hope you're all having a great day. Take care, have fun. Bye for now.